Hello everyone. Today is Friday, April 5th, 2024 at 10:38 a.m. in the morning. Um well, I had to deal with some off and on noise harassment throughout the middle of the night that kind of kept me awake, but my sleep was spotty and it wasn't really that great. So I think I went to bed at after midnight, but couldn't really fall asleep. And eventually, I guess I got a little sleep, but I don't remember what time I woke up, but I think it was before 7:30. So um, I think it was nine something. I didn't even keep. No, you know what? It was right after 9 o'clock that the same thing I had for lunch yesterday, I had for breakfast today. So, well, I had this time it was turkey club sliders, um, and chips, and some green fruit and vegetable mix of juice, for breakfast, lunch food for breakfast. But then, I wasn't even really that hungry this morning. And I thought I was going to go out and about and run errands, but I figured it would be easier if I made a few phone calls before making certain possible blank trips. So I'm glad I was able to get certain information from, a few phone calls rather than making blank trips. So, um, but I mean, I don't know if I should try to not eat lunch. Um, because now all I have is granola bars and a small amount of the green juice left, and I got some eggs, like one package of the pre-cooked cold eggs that's boiled, that when you buy them boiled, and they come like a half a dozen in a package. So I just have pineapple juice, eggs, and granola bars left over, and a very small amount of the green juice, and I got some milk. And that's all I got left. Oh, and I have an extra bag of chips, bigger bag of chips that it take me 2 or 3 days to eat them. So, but I know it's not healthy, but it's what I can afford at the moment. So, um, so it's like, um, you know, last night I had to deal with a whole lot of YouTube gang stalking harassment. It was bad enough that if it weren't for all that YouTube gang stalking harassment last night, I could have gone to bed sooner, you know. But the fake Darnell Williams perp unnecessarily left like 64 comments on one video and repeated the same thing multiple times. You know, so it's funny because if I were to repeat the same message on either the same video of someone else or a different videos, I would end up being like, my comments would be censored or banned, you know. So I don't know how he's able to make the same multiple repetitive comments on my channel, on my videos, So then the fake Aquarian Doris perp came to harass me this morning. I had to block her. And I had some more like random multiple people come and harass me, harass. And I had multiple accounts I had to block. And then one perp bragged about having over 40 brand new accounts all at once. And they're getting ridiculous. So, and I forgot to mention the other day that they had a perp that made a fake account of me and posing as me, and then try to gaslight and discredit me with the video with those young boys, and then made a fake account that said at Targeted Creole 666 on YouTube, and then try to discredit me with the video about the boys, and then lie and say that I was the one harassing. But if you were a real TI, you would know that they were the ones harassing me and gang stalking me. So, and I don't know who was behind that account, that fake account, you know. So they're trying to falsely paint me as satanic, or trying to link me up or associate me with stuff that's satanic or demonic, and that's the cult trying to the satanic cult trying to beat me into the gang stalking satanic cult network, wanting to try to beat me into submission and thinking that they can try to force me to be satanic, you know. So y'all are stalking, following, and harassing and making up lies on me and destroying my life because you're mad because I won't be evil. So I called the Gretna Police non-emergency number and tried to ask questions about the body cam footage, and she gave me the item number. And she was mostly nice on the phone, but you know, she was hesitant to, like, she was scared to give me her name, you know. And eventually she gave me the well, she acted like as if excuse me, she acted like as if she didn't want to, or like she was afraid to tell me the name of the third officer, who was a so-called male officer, excuse me, who put me in handcuffs. And so, but mostly she was nice, and she seemed like she was extremely young, you know. But then she had me to call the clerk of court's office. And I mean, well, since the person at that answered the phone at the Gretna Police non-emergency, I had told her that I wasn't gonna tell her name or whatever if she didn't feel comfortable or whatever. But you're working for the damn police department, So I promised her that I wasn't gonna say her name, tell her name or whatever. But you're working for the police department. How are you afraid to give out your name? Or like, I don't know if she was afraid she was going to get in trouble or what. But I said that, like, I have a right to know who arrested me. So the fact that it must be part of the shadiness and gang stalking, what do y'all have to hide that the officers, didn't want to give me, like, I didn't even realize that they were violating the law by not telling me their names or badge numbers, and, even after I was arrested and taken into the jail place, I tried to look at their name tags and they kept rough handling and pushing me and make me afraid that they were going to get more violent. And they were very abusive, like, turn around, the way they treated me, you know, when they're actually the criminals in uniform. So they had this abusive, narcissistic, fake lady named Leslie that answered the phone at the clerk of courts. And she was abusive and narcissistic and hard and mean and just like rude for no reason at all. And she was trying to tell me when I was trying to ask for information, you know how certain overt, not covert, but overt narcissistic abusers, like if you ask certain questions and they answer and respond with a harsh attitude, like as if they're eternally angry. I mean, it seems like everybody associated with the police, the clerk of courts, the jails, the bondsmen, the prosecutors, lawyers, why is everybody abusive, narcissistic, hard, and mean, and eternally angry? And so this fake Leslie lady, I try to ask her questions about like the body cam footage. I try to ask for questions about the I try to ask about the body cam footage. I try to ask for questions about the police, how much the police report would cost. I try to ask about the mug shot and everything. And, each question was answered with like a harsh attitude, But she told me it was 3 officers, 3 body cams, and that would be like about $300. So, excuse me, and she refused to answer my questions when I try to ask her, how long do I have, for this to be available, to try to get the copies of the body cam footage, because I'm here at the hotel until Monday, and I still have to pay that $40 fee for the fake public offender. Other people call it public pretender. And so it's like, excuse me. So I found out that the third officer, his name was Officer Lowry, but I don't know his first name. But I guess the most I could afford right now is to pay that $40, in which, paying the $40 for the fake public offender application fee. And then possibly pay for the police report. But if I were to pay for any body cam footage, it looks like I only got the funds to afford to pay for one. But, I feel like I desperately need all 3. Since they knocked my phone. Well, Officer Allison Christiana, the young child, the young girl, she knocked my phone out of my hand. And she was the one who did all the violent stuff to me. But they're the ones who act like the canine dogs and act like dogs, but then treat us like we're dogs, but they act like they're dogs. They act like the unruly dogs, but they treat us like we're dogs. But, excuse me, the incident from February 25th, those officers acting like they didn't want to give me their names or badge numbers. Well, at first they gave me their badge numbers, but they were trying to not give me their names. But I heard that they were supposed to give me both, but they kept demanding my identification and making threats at me. So, and then, those evil 5 boys were talking about, and your ass is being all effeminate, very effeminate, talking about, and your ass is gonna go to jail. Nothing masculine about those boys at all. Nothing. But they wanted to gang up on a single 40-year-old woman, a disabled, homeless 40-year-old woman. Anybody who's a true targeted individual would know that they would see that those boys were perps. And the cops didn't even write those boys a citation. They didn't do any of that. They told me that they were wrongfully trespassing me and not those boys from by the ferry. If they wouldn't have done that, then, I wouldn't have felt the need as last resort, to go by the house, not knowing that, that the laws were with that case. I was in a fight or flight or emergency situation. And then the cops passed by several times, 3 days in a row, and the cops never said anything. The neighbors never said anything. And the online stalkers bragged about being the ones to call and lie and say that it is their house. When your ass is like a 20-year-old kid living somewhere in Milton, Florida or somewhere. Because the fake Aquarian Doris perp told me that she lives in Milton, Florida or somewhere around there. She told me that several months ago. And she made threats to come from, she would make threats to come and kick my ass and everything. But, when the neighbors were threatening me in Pensacola, y'all saw the cops say that the neighbors can threaten me all they want and that they can lie all they want. But if I would have threatened anybody or lie, I would be locked up for that. Hell, I could get locked up for telling the doggone truth. People get punished for telling the truth, but people get rewarded for lying. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't even know that freaking officer Allison Christiana. She look like she's a fucking fucking middle school or something. Like, I don't even know how young she is, But fraudulently and illegally stealing fake awards, talking about officer of the month and a dog handler and stuff like that, for being abusive. And I saw another, I cannot find where it was. I don't remember if it was YouTube, TikTok, or somewhere else that I saw her, a video of her brutalizing and being abusive towards, people. I don't remember. And I saw the video one time and I couldn't even find the video. But then I saw there was a video of them being like at some Gretna Fest or something like that. And I saw she was one of the main ones, fake smiling and fake happy or whatever. And then, as I said, like a couple of days ago, I saw her. It was in the morning. And she was riding in the passenger side, passing by me, and she didn't give me eye contact, but I saw her pass by me when I was waiting for the bus a few days ago, and it looked like she was either smiling or laughing, excuse me. So, So, I mean, I can't even afford all 3 body cams, but the Leslie lady tried to make it like as if I have to pay so much money for all 3 body cams or nothing at all. You know, but, I mean, it would be beneficial if I could have, you know, access to all 3 body cams, or, you know, and it's like, I don't even know how far the footage would go, or if I can even, you know, because, I mean, from the time that they approached me to the time that, of me walking into the jail dorm, you know, is the information that, you know, that I wish I could have, you know, or what I need, you know. Even, you know, with them giving me the mug shot, or whatever, and then, you know, if y'all see the body cam footage, y'all might notice the officers perping the fuck out of me really bad. You might notice the officers perping me. So, Officer Allison Christiana was the chief devil and the biggest narcissistic fake show-off. And then the fake Officer Michelle Richards was the one that was passive about everything. She was more passive and more quiet. And then after, you know, after we got to the jail was when and then Officer Allison went somewhere, and then that's when Michelle Richards started to act all tough and big shit, and like as if she took Allison's place with being like trying to rough handle me and be a bully and snapping her fingers at me like a dog and throwing up the 666 satanic hand signs and all that. And both officers were perps. You know, and even Officer Flanders from 3 days before that was definitely another narcissistic perp. And so that Officer Lowry, I do not know. They didn't even give me his first name, and I kept on having to ask the girl at the front. I mean, the police non-emergency number. I had to ask her multiple times, and she acted like she didn't want to give me his information. Something about this is fucking shady. And y'all sitting here talking about Candy breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. You know, but it's not against how is it not against the law that you broke my phone and you stumped on my jacket and stumped and kicked my jacket and threw my backpack and snooping through my belongings without my permission? And then deliberately drag my jacket on the ground and cussing me out, threatening me and everything else. But I forgot to mention that fake pastor lady from the other day. That fake pastor lady from the other day, she was trying to tell me that that Gretna police is very racist, you know, against black people. And I heard that nearly everybody that gets arrested and go to jail in Gretna is poor blacks. So, but, you know, but when I went to the jail, it seems like it was like an equal amount of black and white women, or seemed like the white women slightly outnumbered us black women in the jail dorm. And I feel like my heart goes out to the women, black or white or whatever race, you know, who were, you know, ended up in jail for standing up to, you know, their partners doing domestic violence on them. Like, So there was a younger white female who was in the jail dorm, and she got arrested for defending herself against her baby daddy for domestic violence, and he seemed like he was a crazy, sounded like as if he was a crazy animalistic monster, but I don't even remember the whole story, about what she said, but excuse me, and there were a couple of other women in there that got arrested for being victims of domestic violence and standing up for themselves. And then it's like the guy was made out to look like the victim, and if he was considered quote unquote mentally unstable, but they took the woman to jail and left the guy with the custody of the kids, and the guy would be a true danger around the kids and a psychopath and everything. But then they had those 2 black females in the jail dorm who weren't victims of domestic violence, but they were there for domestic violence, and they were abusive, narcissistic perps, and one of them was a ghetto sociopath, the one with the white shirt and red sweatpants and black boots, and she was bullying, harassing, and laughing. The chief bully and the youngest one up in there, and then the fake crusty ghetto bitch that kept throwing up devil horns and telling me, stay off other people's property. You wouldn't want nobody on your property. Well, and you're sitting there throwing up devil horns, and you in jail for domestic violence. You physically abused and beat on your baby daddy or boyfriend or whoever, and you can't even keep your hands to yourself. So you shut the fuck up. And the other it's like they didn't even want to, like, they're all asking me, what you in here for? What you in here for? But then when I ask, what are you in here for? And they act like it's none of my business, though, like they don't want to tell me. But it seemed like they demanded an answer just so that for an excuse to berate and condemn me and stuff. So I guess I hope there will never be another time. But if I ended up having to go to jail or prison, I won't even tell any other inmates, why I'm there. And then I hear about if somebody go to jail for this or that, they can get jumped and stuff like that. But the chief ringleader bully that treated me like I'm retarded and didn't know any better, the black girl, and she was perping with the white shirt and red shorts and black boots. When I asked, what are you in here for? She said, domestic violence. And then had like a proud, deceitful looking smile on her face. Like some people would call that a smirk. But, but I asked, well, what are you in here for? Domestic violence. And she made a facial expression like the biological brothers Wyatt and Wyatt and Derek and Ramona would make that facial expression too. Like, they would look away with a deceitful looking smile on their face. And so it's like, well, if this is part of the gang stalking setup to have me wrongfully arrested with the online perps bragged about how they called the cops and lied and said it was their property because they did this before, and I got wrongfully locked up and arrested, and everybody saying you're wrong, you stay off people's property, and nobody was living there. Oh, it doesn't matter. Ignorance is no excuse. This, that, whatever. Well, what's your excuse for your crimes? Why are you here? You're here for bigger crimes than I am. And I'm being treated worse than a murderer. And so it's like, well, are all these women up in here for domestic violence charges? Or are they told to lie and say it's domestic violence charges as a way to try to intimidate and scare and frighten me? Frighten me while up, to instill more fear and frighten me while I'm up in there? So, I mean, I thought about that. If perps were planted there before me, and so many of them were of the women talking about they're up in jail for domestic violence or whatever. And then, They have like, um, they would be abusive and narcissistic and dish out unsolicited advice and make their own fake rules for me and say you're not supposed to do this or you're gonna get in trouble for that. And I'm like, I just freaking got here. What am I gonna get in trouble for something I didn't know? I mean, if I got into the jail room and they had two mattresses, and like as I said, all the mattresses were disgusting and filthy, and there was a light coating of blood, and it's like they don't even care to clean the jails or prisons or anything. They keep everything forced to be very dirty. It's not a place for someone that with extreme OCD. And then I got sick. Like I was extremely sick for like 2 weeks. It took me 2 weeks, even with healing naturally. It took me 2 weeks to get over for me to not be sick anymore. Excuse me. I mean, it was just like that. It was like, I thought homeless shelters themselves were the closest to hell that you can get. But no, being in jail or prison, it's like the closest to hell that you can get. And I didn't even realize that jail or prison was very dirty. Excuse me. And it's like they don't even care about us. They don't. And it's like the very inhumane treatment. And last summer I heard about how many people in jail or prison died from the extreme scorching heat because the prisons and jail guards did not care to put on the air conditioner I heard that last year in the multiple cities and states, a lot of prisoners and jail people had died. Excuse me. So, y'all, like, how would they be self-righteous about telling me to stay off other people's property when something I didn't know, but you did a premeditated and intentional crime? If you claim you beat your baby daddy or your boyfriend or whatever, and but you feel like you didn't deserve to have to go upstairs. And then they had this lady who pretended to be fake nice and acted like a fake nice narcissistic control freak fake friend who pretended to be fake nice for an excuse to act like as if I owe it to her to let her use my phone when I really don't like people using my phone. So, and I'm like, oh, you kissed up to me and pretended to be fake nice just so you can try to take advantage of using my phone. Well, what if I didn't go to jail that night? How else were you going to call whoever? No, you just want an opportunity to use and take advantage of me. Excuse me. So I mean, I had on a yellow wristband. So they said, oh, and I mean, I was there for 10 hours. And I guess after between 6 and 8 hours, I started to go crazy and started to lose my mind. Like, I couldn't handle being up in there. And then I was not protected from any noise up in there. But yeah, it seemed like the white women in that jail dorm almost outnumbered us black people. Excuse me, but the guys, I saw mainly black guys, on the other side and stuff, and they were rowdier than us. They were very rowdy, with the guys and stuff. But I don't know if it was the air or if it was the food up in there or if it was the dirty surfaces that made me sick. I don't know what it was, but something from that jail made me sick. excuse me, you know, and I never wanted to try to go to jail. I mean, I wasn't intentionally trying to break the law, you know, but I you know, that fake officer Allison lied and said that the police vehicle was her vehicle, and me and her got into an argument about that. You know, I said that ain't your vehicle. I said that ain't your car. I said, just because you driving it don't make it yours. You don't own it. It belongs to the police. I don't remember exactly, but that was a memory that I forgot that it came back up, and you know, so I mean, and that fake lieutenant who sided with the officers and falsely talking about, oh, you disobeyed unlawful order and this and that or whatever. But then he said something about that I should make a police report, and but I mean, I don't even trust you know, I felt like if I walked into the Gretna police station, that would be like walking into the lion, like Daniel in the lion's den. You know, that's what it was seem like. You know, or walking into a snake pit or a pit of vipers or something. You know, I mean, excuse me, I was trying whatever to avoid walking into 205th Street, Gretna, Louisiana, which is 4 blocks from the fake foster mom Adrian Felder's house. And with the fake foster mom Adrian Felder, yeah, she lived, and she probably strategically lived there, you know, as a way to scare and intimidate us. Like 4 blocks from, she lived like 4 blocks from the fake Gretna police. And the Kraft family did too, you know, and they were buddy with the police, just like Adrian Felder, because they're all Masonic. Excuse me. So now the fake Aquarian Doris perp is copying off the fake Darnell Williams perp, talking about switch sides now. As I say, it's nothing to play with that y'all called the police on me and lied on me or created like the ripe opportunity to try to get me wrongfully arrested and in trouble with the law, because you feel like, oh, I'm gonna make you learn your lesson and make you submit to me and sell your soul to me, or sell your soul to the devil. And they falsely portray themselves as the devil, and then multiple perps are harassing me about there will be more and more jails or more and more, and they want me locked up so bad that they want me to be locked up and put away from society forever. But then when it comes to my twin sister going to jail, now they want to pretend like they have fake morals and want to talk about compassion for Brandy, justice for Brandy, free Brandy Starks, free Brandy Grand Prix. But y'all want me to have a prison sentence harder than a convicted murderer for unknowingly trespassing. But you know, they said that the police dropped her domestic violence charges or assault and battery charges, and I'm like, see, they dropped if they dropped those charges and just only left obstruction, like, so they dropped all the serious charges though. That's proof that my twin sister sold out. And so I didn't even realize that was going on. They said that my twin sister was manipulating and abusing Tiara. I didn't even know that was going on. Because usually all the other women that my twin sister been with, it's the other way around. The feminine women usually have like the upper hand over beating her up and abusing her and taking all her money and everything. before China. Everything, So, I mean, it seems like my twin sister stayed out of a lot of trouble with dealing with China. But, excuse me, but even then it was some trouble. But China likes to pretend to be a fake goody two-shoes. And pretend that she's innocent, but then she'd be like an instigator. And be messy and everything, And then, when I told China one time, butt out of our family business, and she yelled at me and said, Brandy, it's my business. Not with y'all fraudulent fake relationship. You go back to your husband and Brandy should go back to her damn husband. Fuck out of here. You're a random nobody. Nobody. You are nobody. And then, as far as family goes, my twin sister had been trying to erase me out of the family and replace me with China as a so-called family member. Especially when the biological mom, Frances, passed away. And I didn't realize that my twin sister was using China to perp me before I even knew who China was. And I forgot what other family members, if I heard it through a third party or other family members who told me about China, because in 2011, 2012, I wasn't even in much contact with the family after I moved to Los Angeles after being raped and being in a domestic violence shelter with that fake Giovanni perp. Excuse me. And he was an abusive alcoholic, and stayed eternally drunk. He stayed eternally drunk. And he would fraudulently and illegally drink Steel Reserve beer. Excuse me. So, yeah, he would stay eternally drunk. And, I ended up in a domestic violence shelter. And even then, I was treated more of like the criminal than the victim. And when I got raped by that Freemason, I was treated more like the criminal than the victim. And then, one of those rapes, I think they were trying to say that, I think it was with the Freemason, they try to say that if you don't take this, if you decide to keep the baby, and there was no guarantee if I was pregnant or not. So they said, well, if you don't take this birth control medicine or whatever, come on, man. They would try to say if you don't take this birth control medicine, that would basically kill the baby right around conception. And they said if you refuse to take this medicine or whatever, this birth control pill or whatever, if you refuse to take the pill, then or refuse to take this medicine, then we're gonna if you refuse to take this birth control medicine, then we're gonna say that you were never raped, and we're gonna make sure that you will go to jail. But I have recently woke up to the truth about the idea of birth control and abortion being wrong, like more morally wrong and biblically wrong, So they try to use jail threats to manipulate and force me, the cops and the people at the so-called fake rape treatment center in Santa Monica, and they turned their backs on me and betrayed me. And I heard that happened to a lot of women. That the so-called Santa Monica rape treatment center is not there to support and help. And they try to do the same thing to me at this fake Christian, like, and I wasn't even a Christian yet, but I felt like how ironic for there to be like a fake Christian version of plan, like family planning or Planned Parenthood or abortion center or whatever. I didn't have any like abortion, but I ended up they forced me to take a pill or medicine that would, I guess, dissolve or kill the baby before, or before it can conceive or fully conceive or something. So they try to say that Giovanni had every right to be in the child's life. And it's like, if he is straight up dangerous psychopath, like, no, he doesn't. But they try to make it like as if he had every right to be in a child's life. And that if I didn't yeah, I think they were trying to do that to me even then, that, if you don't take this medicine or you don't take this pill, then he has every right to be in a child's life, and you're going to go to jail or whatever, Well, why don't I have a right to be in a child's life then? If those guys impose themselves on me or force themselves on me, and then that Derwin guy was gang stalking me for like a month or two after the rape happened. Or like for about, no, longer than that, for about a few months after the rape happened. And it's like, they let him walk free. And we're going to criminalize me. Because the police officer lied on, and of course the Derwin guy himself, that Freemason, and the police officer, John Green of LAPD, John Green was his name, a white man, pretended to be fake nice and then betrayed me, and he twisted my words and lied on a police report. And the black lady, she's a black woman who delusionally believes she's a tough white man named Detective April Carter back in 2012. She was like, now's the time to come clean or else I'm going to put you in handcuffs. And she treated me more like the criminal than the victim. And so it took for me to outsmart her and question her on her hypocrisy for her to just give up and let me go. Because she would try to frighten, bully, intimidate, and scare me. It was a black woman named Detective April Carter of LAPD 77th Division. That with the situation with the rape from that Derwin guy. And the police took my phone for like over a month. I don't remember. And I was forced to have to go out of town, go to Texas without my phone. Because the Derwin guy, he, gave me his phone number or exchanged phone numbers. And then, he lied to me and manipulated and tricked me to enter in my house. And then, he took advantage of, and, man, I hate to even go back and, and he was an armed security guard. And all I could have flashback is the foster brother Joe and the beatings and the police brutality beatings and the beatings from the 6 men in the mental hospital, the football player sized men, and so he tricked and lied to me and got in my house and then lied and said he had to use the bathroom and then hurry up and flush the toilet. And I went to put my stuff, and he illegally stole total control over my house and like snooped through all my belongings all over my house. And then I went to put my stuff down and I had to use the bathroom. And then when I got out of the bathroom, he was just that quickly completely, nude with his thing, and then he forced me onto the bed and, raped me for 2 hours. And I remember at one point I was like trying to claw his face to try to get him off of me. And then he forced me against my will to take a shower with him, and I had very little soap, and he was that controlling and wouldn't let me get another bar of soap. And then, and then after that, then he went and raped me some more. And he, like, as soon as he hurried up and got in my house, and he did so many things so quick. And he hurried up and deleted his number out of my phone. And he had a Freemason ring and admitted, he lied and said 33rd degree Master Mason. No, they said that didn't they say that, what is the 3rd degree Mason? He was a lower level Mason. And then that Darius guy said that the Derwin guy that he sex trafficked me. That the rape thing that happened was sex trafficking. And that I was put on the dark web. But I didn't have a camera phone at the time, Oh, see, they're shocking me on my left side. They're electronically shocking me on the left side telling this story. As soon as I mentioned about the sex trafficking. Wait, hold up. I'm going to look on my other phone. Come on, man. Stop. Hold up. All right. So, all right. Let me see what degree. And then, with the most recent rape that happened in 2020, that guy was way younger than me. And, it seemed like they manipulate, lie, and trick you, or bully, or coerce, or threaten you. And I discovered that maybe not every narcissistic abuser is a rapist, but every rapist, is a narcissistic abuser. That you tell them no, and they will ignore you, and then they will lie. They will project that they want it on you. They will lie and say that you wanted it. Hold up. So yeah, because this fake Derwin guy, he lied and said he was a 33rd degree Master Mason. Okay, so now my phone is telling me that a Master Mason is a 3rd degree. Not 33rd degree, but 3rd degree Master Mason. And the Derwin guy, he was extremely immature to be like excuse me, I think he was like 46 years old. Hold up. Hold up. Yeah, no, I think he was 44 years old. And I was only 30. I had no interest in him. Okay, so this website called Freemason.com says that the 3rd degree is the final and highest honor in Freemasonry. The Master Mason degree symbolizes a man's maturity increased knowledge and wisdom. And yeah, they talk about the Master Mason ritual and emphasizes the more immortality of a man's soul. Yeah, all this New Age. Um, and the new core Masonic symbolism, including the beehive, trowel, the hourglass, acacia sprig, and many others, which are a lot of MK Ultra. So yeah, because because they said that the fake Henry Clifford Kinley guy, the founder of the fake Adamara cult, was a Scottish Rite Mason. So, excuse me. Yeah, I'm so sick and tired of them making like Freemasonry is good. Oh, so yeah, they said that the Master Mason is a Freemason that's been through all 3 degrees, but I thought there was 33 degrees. But they have somebody um that would call herself oh oh man, MK Deception or something like that. I don't remember her name, but she tried to say it was a 53rd degree Mason, and that Walt Disney was a 53rd degree Freemason or whatever. Talking about Disney and MK Ultra. You know, oh, her name was Esoteric Kitten, Deception Hollywood. That was her name. Esoteric Kitten. Yeah, that was her name. Her username, Excuse me. But people that used to be exposing the Illuminati like in 2012, where are they now? Excuse me. Excuse me. So, excuse me. So yeah, 2010, 11, 12. People had all these MK Ultra, excuse me, and blogs about MK Ultra and Freemasonry and Illuminati and the New World Order, um, and like the mind control programming. It seems like they try to sweep a lot of that information from the internet, and a lot of the truth blogs are just gone. You know, so um, excuse me. That's what her name was. Her name was Esoteric Kitten, Deception Hollywood. She was the one who mentioned something about Walt Disney being a 53rd degree Freemason. But everybody else says that he was a 33rd degree Freemason, and that 33rd degree Mason is the highest. But the Derwin guy, he lied to me and said, and he looked away. And there were certain times when he would have immature smirks or, deceitful looking smile on his face or and acting like extremely childish and immature. And I was devastated to find out that he had a wife. some months later, and it took me a long. I mean, it was very difficult for me to do some deep digging and Google search him. And so then with the Giovanni guy, it wasn't until after the rape when he told me that he was married with the 3-year-old and that his wife is a police officer. And then he tried to force, within knowing him with him, holding me hostage in my house and controlling and abusing me and raping me for 3 days. I didn't even know until, like, after some time, I did not even know that he was married with a 3-year-old child. So, but if I would have known that, then, I would have, stayed far away from them, because I don't even believe in, having sex with a man that's married to someone else. And here I was raped by men who were married to someone else. And the actual wife probably wouldn't believe me if I would have told what happened. Just like the cops didn't believe me. And then with the Giovanni guy, they had the black officer named Patrick Black. He for Denton Police Department, Denton, Texas. He almost, acted like he didn't believe me. And like Giovanni, he raped me, and then he ran off with my money and my laptop, and I think my phone, and I don't remember, maybe my phone, I don't remember. But he definitely ran off with my laptop, and I think my phone, and I don't remember what else. But yeah, he stole some of my valuables. And I had LoJack on my laptop. And LoJack, all that money I was paying to protect for my laptop from being stolen, and LoJack pretended that they couldn't do anything. Excuse me, and I felt like, well, what a failure. Oh, LoJack is a fucking scam. I don't even know if they're still around. So then my twin sister went to spread false rumors and lie and said Candy had sex with a Freemason named Giovanni. And it's like she intentionally twisting everything and thinking the shit is funny. Sex was the farthest thing farthest thing from my mind. When the Derwin guy raped me, I was freaking, was sleep deprived the night before and went to the beach, and then wasn't feeling good. I was freaking tired. And I didn't even have on any rape-worthy clothes. And then the Giovanni guy, I was temporarily suffering homelessness after being abused by Mark and dealing with Mark, and I couldn't even make it back to Denton. And excuse me, I wasn't even panhandling for money for food or anything, but I didn't even know that Giovanni was drunk, and I tried to ask for funds for bus fare, panhandling, and I was then trying to leave like Dallas to try to get back to Denton to my place after dealing with being abused by Mark. And I ended up by some homeless shelters. And wait a minute, was that in yeah, I think that's what happened. Yeah, after being abused by Mark, and Mark was living in Carrollton, Texas. Excuse me, and I couldn't get back to my place, and I ended up somehow in Dallas in the homeless shelters for a few days. And me and Mark got into arguments, and then I couldn't make it back to my apartment. And then, I didn't even think, it didn't even seem like it went on my record, but it seemed like after the rape happened, I couldn't go back to that place, and I ended up in a domestic violence shelter. I was forced to have to abandon. I don't remember if I was forced to have to abandon my apartment or if I had to put all my stuff in a storage unit. I don't even remember, but I did have a storage unit around that time, and I was prepared to my lease, I think, was about to end up anyway, and I think I already had my stuff in a storage unit, and my lease had, I don't remember exactly what happened, excuse me, but I think I remember my stuff was in the storage unit, and I was trying to move out. I mean, my lease was up and I was on the verge of moving out anyway, and I couldn't afford to stay there because they didn't raise my income, but they kept raising the rent, and I couldn't afford to stay there. And Giovanni took advantage of that, and and I didn't know that he was drunk. And then, like, when I first met him, I figured he was just a little weird, and I didn't, and he was speaking with a foreign accent. And then he got on the train with me and paid for my train fare for the train, and we got back to Denton, and like he yelled at the train operator, or the train maybe the not the operator, but I guess one of the people that's I don't know what job they have, or I guess making sure people pay their fare or something. And excuse me, and he yelled at the train person, and then he made false promises to help me move my stuff out of my apartment or whatever, because I was, I didn't have anybody to help me. He pretended like he was there to help and everything, and I had no idea. And then after he sobered up, he started to talk like an American white guy. And when I first met him, he looked like as if he wanted to be like an Elvis impersonator, and then he bragged about his $250 haircut, and he was perping with a red duffel bag. I didn't even know about gang stalking at that time. But it seems like after I woke up to the Illuminati and stuff like that, it seemed like, a lot of strange stuff started to happen. Like all these random rapes happening to me, even though I had been raped and taken advantage of before then. All the rapes happening to me, and me being hit with directed energy weapons. But I didn't even realize, even back in 2008, I had to deal with noise harassment, noise campaigns, directed energy weapons, and I had no idea what was going on. And I used to live like walking distance from, oh yeah, they made sure it was walking distance from MHMR, mental health place, which was right by Presbyterian Hospital in Denton, Texas. Like I lived right across the street from there, excuse me. And so they would have the same abusive police officers that would come out, just like with Gretna Police. And when I was in foster care and dealing with the fake foster mom, Adrian Felder, every time a call was made, it would be the same fake officers to come out. In Denton, Texas, it would be the same thing, the same fake officers to come out. But I remember a female officer named Officer Luce, Luce. That was part of Denton Police Department. And one of the officers that I dealt with an incident dealing with her, it was a male officer that pointed and laughed. And like with my suicide attempt, the officers had excuse me, the officers had were snooping through my belongings and laughing. And one of the officers, as I was going in and out of consciousness, one of the officers gently pressed on my arm, like gently, while another officer, with all his manly strength, twist anger, vicious hate anger, his face twisted up mad. He would he would like twist his knuckles in my chest really hard. And each time I dozed off and started to go back to sleep, he would twist his knuckles in my chest. And it's like, well, how y'all are preventing the suicide at the same time y'all trying to kill me? Y'all trying to kill me anyway. But I did not realize that the suicide attempts were the freaking side effects of Cymbalta and all those other medications that I was on. That's why my suicide attempts aren't so easy anymore. And the perps hate that. Y'all want me so medicated so much. You want me medicated. Excuse me. So it's like the same medications that lie and say that they prevent suicidal ideation. Oh yeah, they cause suicidal ideation. Like, even when I was on Abilify, I mean, as I said, it gave me unwanted urges to want to jump off balconies and drink bleach. And my hand would be weak and shaky, like this. Like I don't know if it gave me like I don't know, like Parkinson's or something. I don't know, like medicine induced, temporary, But all these dangerous medications that, yeah, I used to be more violent on those psych medications and stuff, and the side effects of the medication used to make me more violent or more prone to violence. But, I don't fight people or hit people. I'm not on the medications no more. And I have better control of my appetite now. Now, yeah, when I was on those psych medications, I can overeat and still feel like I'm starving and then sleep 17 or 18 hours a day. That was just, and it made me more depressed. But seeing like, I ate the sliders and some chips earlier today and I got full. And I kind of wasn't even that hungry. But, yeah, gluttony was a problem when I was on those psych medications. Yeah. Because when I was taking the Cymbalta medication, I used to eat like I guess they would sell sheets of cake, like 1/4 sheet of cake. And, with me being on medications like that, I would eat like buy a $30 cake and eat like buy a $30 cake from Sam's and eat like almost the whole cake. Except with maybe like a few pieces, a few pieces left. But I mean, or I would just be like, spend 4 or 5 days eating cake, and then when the cake get too hard, then I throw the cake away. Excuse me, But that was when I was on those psych medications, So nowadays, I would be careful that if I were to have a cupcake or something, I would have like 2 cupcakes. Like, I'm talking about standard normal size cupcakes. It'd be like 2 cupcakes, and I would take like almost all of the icing off the cupcakes and have like maybe a little bit, and or maybe 3 cupcakes, at the most. But, I would end up feeling guilty or, or feeling afraid. Like, but I still, all these years, have not been diabetic. Excuse me. But, or if it's like pre-cut slices of cake, depending on the size, you know, like nowadays, like I would try to limit my desserts, but even like 2021, I would feel so depressed due to even the online gang stalking harassment. Feeling so depressed and sad, feeling so depressed that I would feel so depressed that excuse me, I would end up feeling so depressed that I would feel so depressed and sad that I would feel the need to have dessert like once or twice a day, or have ice cream almost every day, you know, due to being depressed with dealing with the online gang stalking and everybody ganging up on me and nobody really on my side. And I guess my teeth weakened, and I think that led up to me ending up, and I was homeless on the streets and didn't have where I could brush my teeth. So I ended up with the tooth abscess, and I'm still suffering it. You know, excuse me. So I mean, but y'all make a false bad narrative about my life. As I said, let me tell the narrative about my life. How is it an online stranger that's been, your account is like 4 hours old, and how you pretend like you knew me for over a decade when I haven't even been active on YouTube, but y'all think y'all know the narrative of my life better than I do. So, excuse me. Um, y'all think y'all know the narrative of my life better than I do. But yeah, I was gluttonous I was gluttonous when I was on those psych medications as a side effect. But lately I have not been, eating as a glutton, or, overeating way too much. And most people say that 3 meals a day is not gluttony. And some people say it's not even about how many times a day you eat, it's about the calories or whatever, you know. But I mean, y'all won't even let me work or have a job and be productive. And I was working at Piccadilly and being treated like I didn't have a right to eat. And that's been with quite a few jobs. So being targeted, yeah, you can work and then they won't let you eat, and then they fucking cheat you out your paychecks. Well, Piccadilly didn't cheat me out my paychecks, but yeah, fake Tommy's Cuisine and on was it Chapatoulas downtown New Orleans? Yeah, I'll never forget what those motherfuckers did. They refused to let me eat, and they lied on me and stole my paycheck, and then Global Staffing Solutions helped them. And they skirted around and waited 4 months to tell me why they didn't give me my $45 paycheck. And they straight up lies. And Global Staffing Solutions is crooked. And a lot of the temp service, I hear that they be stealing people's paychecks. A lot of temp agencies steal people's paychecks, and I heard that a lot of like on Indeed.com, before they shut down the forums, people used to talk about gang stalking and Freemasonry and workplace mobbing and all that. And they said a lot of the times temp service jobs were how they ended up being gang stalked. But not in my case, because I was already gang stalked since foster care. Excuse me. So, but those phone calls, I have less errands than I thought I was gonna have. You know, so but well, I guess for now I won't be able to afford, the body cam footage. Um, and I don't even know if the police report, how long I will have before I can. I mean, I don't know if I might have to wait till next month or June, and that'll be less hotel room for me, but yeah, people would be glad for me to be locked up in jail, but for this month, no, I don't think I can afford the body cam footage and the as much as I need it so bad, it doesn't look like I could afford the body cam footage and the body cam footage and the police reports and everything. I guess I'll just put that on hold. But in the mugshot, the lady got an attitude with me when I tried to ask her about the mugshot. And remember, I told y'all the fake Stephon Adams perp and the fake Joseph Camus perp, which is the fake Darnell Williams perp. They were gossiping and discussing, talking about obtaining my mugshot and obtaining my body cam footage and mugshot and police reports and everything. Like y'all that creepy, much creepy stalkers that that y'all are willing to. It's not y'all business, But the fact that y'all conspired for this setup to happen and then lie about everything, the gang stalking network. And so yeah, they bragging about, and then they try to make it like, oh, I'm that shitty of a person that, oh, I wouldn't even waste $10. Well, good, I'm glad you won't waste $10 on the mugshot. How the hell you think you got more rights to obtaining my mugshot before me? That's mine. You're a stranger, you're an outsider, you're a sicko. Because I know that they would use it for nefarious, more smear campaigns. Just like they twisted the story and lied about those 5 boys. And they try to make it like as if that I was this crazy person and that the boys were just eating the wrong color cake that made me upset. When they did this shit on purpose. They strategically planned. And they nearly succeeded that night to have me wrongfully arrested. And y'all give non-Americans more rights than Americans in our own fucking, not only country, but my own fucking hometown. Birthplace. And not only foreigners, but they found some fucking kids. I'm 40 years old. They're not even U.S. citizens. But you give them more rights. All because of gang stalking. They're making my nose itch. But even if it was Americans, the outcome would have still been the same thing, that because they're perps, they get more undeserved privileges and rights than I do. That y'all wrongfully trespassed me from that spot. And how were you saying I was trespassing when even at that public spot, there were no signs that I saw? And even previous nights that I stayed by that spot, they would have other people who come over there around 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's not trespassing for them, but under the condition that they're not homeless. But because I'm homeless, oh, you're trespassing. That's another way to criminalize homeless people. So, Well, since I gotta pay that freaking that $40 fee, I'm not leaving out of here today. I'm gonna stay here all day. I'm not going out and about today. And my lower back was hurting this morning, and they hit me in my right ear sometime in the middle of the night, and they briefly vibrated my body. You know. So as I said, me going to jail had nothing to do with me breaking the law, but it was a gang stalking setup and satanic ritual. And it was a full moon. It was around the time of a full moon when this happened. And you know, I almost ended up being like murdered by police. Excuse me. I almost ended up being murdered by police. Because instead of a flashlight, what if that was that quickly? What if that was bullets flying? And it's like the online stalkers played a prank and called up and lied and said it was their house and thought the shit was funny and just kicked back and laugh. The same gang stalkers who brag about, don't forget that we own you, and they will be bullying, harassing, and threatening me, and now telling me switch sides now, Candy. And they're doing this all from the internet, from online. They're not even showing their faces, and they're not doing this coward shit in person, even though they keep making threats to meet up with me in person. I don't understand why my life is important to any of y'all internet strangers. And the fake Aquarian Doris perp made a threat to come and attend my court arraignment. To come all the way from Florida to Gretna, Louisiana to attend my court arraignment. And the fake Darnell Williams perp was talking about, oh yeah, we could always watch it on TV. Or watch it on, I don't remember what he said. You know. But y'all want to be self-righteous like y'all think y'all are better. Talk about ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law. But the majority of y'all, if they say that the Bible said the law of God is written in our hearts, a lot of the Bible y'all don't even know. But y'all so self-righteous about man's earthly law. You know, and then, you know, the petty stuff like so-called trespassing and stuff. Oh, but they got people who get light jail and prison sentences behind rape and murder and arson and stuff like that. Or, you know, trafficking and also, you know, people who do organ harvesting, you know, how come there's no jail or prison time for them? It's like you hear stories all the time about jail guards. And I noticed something. People talk about qualified immunity. It seems like it's only for white cops. The only cops I ever see get punished or in trouble is the black cops. But the black cops will be just as oppressive as the white cops. But it seems like the black cops are the only cops that I ever see lose their job, go to jail, or get in trouble. Or the prison guards. Or they have, you know, if a prison guard that get arrested or go to jail or lose their job or go to prison for you know, smuggling drugs into the prison or whatever. Or if they're caught, you know. So I mean, and it seems like gang stalkers get away with so much. Like when you hear about blood sacrifices and stuff, even in Hollywood, people who blood sacrifice other people, even if they didn't do it actively. Okay, tell me why Jennifer Hudson is not in jail or prison. Or why is she not in jail or prison for an accessory to a crime? the singer, the R&B singer or whatever, Jennifer Hudson. Why isn't her Beyonce locked up? Okay, it took so many years for Diddy to get in trouble. He had been walking free. And, money should not keep people out of trouble. But it keeps wicked, powerful people out of trouble. Oh, yeah, if you can't afford a lawyer and you're falsely accused, then you're innocent of a crime. It seems like you're forced to sit in jail or prison, for a long time for something that you didn't do because of the color of your skin, because you're black. And, or because you don't have any money. And, so, me being targeted was one way to keep me from getting jobs and housing and stuff like that, and or making it very hard. And now with the false criminal charge due to a gang stalking satanic setup, as I say, they are forcing me to be homeless. Forcing me against my will, coerced homelessness. And then think it's funny. And, they're illegally tracking. And the same ones who made the false police calls are the same ones committing crimes towards me. So, and it seems like people just watch evil be done to me and just sit there and do nothing, or they comply with the evil. But then the moment I stand up, everybody gang up on me talking about that I'm wrong. But on TikTok they had this fake guy that got hateful, and he had a lot of TikTok followers, and he got hateful and unfollowed me on TikTok. And I went and looked on his page, and his page says Jesus saves. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you're one of the popular fakes that's a religious narc, huh? Because I never even did that man anything. Never communicated with him or anything like that. So, I haven't even been, like, extremely as active on these newer TikTok accounts like I was previously. It seemed like it's more difficult to upload videos. They're making it more difficult for me to upload videos on TikTok. So sometimes it seems like all I can do is post like a small little text or something similar to what I post in the community post on YouTube. But if I try to post videos, my phone start to act all kinds of weird. So I can't even post videos really on TikTok. And it's like I don't even have the patience much anymore. And then working between two accounts. Excuse me. And it seems like every time I post something, I end up just losing a follower. Like each time I post something, I will lose a TikTok follower. Every time I post something new. So, and if I try to live stream, everybody ignores me or pass me up. So, I feel like I guess it's a waste of time. But so I'm not gonna go out and about today. I'm gonna stay here today. And I'm gonna stay here today and and just rest. And I would like to write some short stories or something, but my mind is not clear at the moment. And I'm still feeling like emotionally depressed. and another errand that probably could be solved. I probably could just, solve it over the phone rather than going out in person, you know. So I'm gonna see y'all later.